So let us continue the discussion of tax invoice. Now, if you remember what we have covered in tax invoice, section 31.1 and 31.2, if you remember, 31.1 talks about the date, the last date by which a supplier has to issue the tax invoice in case the supplier is supplying taxable goods. This is what section 31.1 is. So 31.1 simply says that it is compulsory for the supplier to issue tax invoice. Compulsory for the supplier to issue tax invoice, and the date also, by last date by which supplier has to issue, has. Similarly, 31.2 says that supplier has to issue compulsory tax invoice in case the supplier is engaged in supplying taxable services. So both these two subsections are talking about compulsory issue of tax invoice. There is no choice. Invoice has to be issued. But 31.3 says that invoice might not be issued, or invoice, rather than invoice, some other things have to be issued. That is why when we read section 31 subsection 3, the starting line says, notwithstanding anything contained in subsections 1 and 2. Why? Because if you read 1 and 2, it says compulsory issue tax invoice, and when you read 31.3, it will tell you so many other documents and not the tax invoice. The documents will be revised tax invoice, bill of supply, uh, then receipt voucher, refund voucher, payment voucher, all other things. So under GST, we don't have only one document tax invoice. We are having 6 or 7 documents in all. I have given some names: bill of supply, revised tax invoice, payment voucher, refund voucher, receipt voucher. So let me now continue the discussion with you on section 31.3. And rather than showing you the act now, for these points, I will simply show you the screen and we will wind up the discussion of tax invoice till section 31 subsection 3, because 31 subsection 3 is having so many parts. Now, let me share my screen with you now. Now see, this is what I think we have discussed in the last lecture. Taxable goods 31. I have discussed with you particulars of tax invoice also, and today I will discuss with you the particulars of other documents also. Manner of tax invoice I have discussed, taxable services I have discussed, and I think I have discussed only the names of these documents. Let me continue the discussion now. So 31.1 is over, 31.2 is over. These are the topics of tax invoice. And now section 31.3. And what it says, its first point. If I say first point, I want to say that I am discussing 31 subsection 3 clause A. It says revised tax invoice. What is this revised tax invoice? I don't think I have discussed the detail of this revised tax invoice with you. Now, what is this revised tax invoice? In case you think that I have discussed it, kindly stop me when you get to know that yes, I have discussed this. Now, through example, let me make you understand revised tax invoice. Suppose it is financial year 2021, and on 30th June 2020, suppose my turnover exceeded the limit. My turnover, aggregate turnover on this date exceeded the limits The limit can be 10 lakh, 20 lakh or 40 lakh, depends upon the circumstances. Now if my turnover exceeded the limit, it means I have to compulsory apply for registration. Compulsorily liable for registration, this is sure. I'm compulsory liable for registration. Now, for example, on 8th July, within 7 or 8 days, I applied as a supplier. I applied because it was my duty. Otherwise, there will be penalty prosecutions against me. I applied for registration. And when I applied, if I've said compulsory liable, do you know which section I'm discussing? I'm discussing section 22(1). If you remember that section, I'm discussing that. I applied for registration. And maybe after 7 days, on 15th July 20, I received the certificate also. I received the registration certificate. Now, during this period, now as far as the period prior to 30th is concerned, there was no problem because I was unregistered person, so there was no problem. About that period, I'm not going to discuss anything. हजारों लाखों बिजनेसमैन हैं जो अनरजिस्टर्ड, उनके लिए कुछ प्रोविजन, कोई रूल नहीं है जीएसटी में. So I'm not discussing the prior period. Period prior to 30th June is of no use to me. So what I am discussing is only for the period which starts from 30th. That's it. Now what is happening? I knew that my turnover exceeded the limit on 30th. This I knew. I also knew that I will get this certificate also after some time. I also knew that when I will receive the registration certificate, in that certificate, do you know what will be the effective date of registration? Do you remember the topic of registration? What is the effective date of registration? It will be written as 30th June 20 without any doubt. Without any doubt, it will be written as 30th June 20. I might have received the registration certificate on 15 July, but effective date remains same. The day my turnover exceeded the limit, that is 30th June 20. Now, the moment I received this, now see, on 30th June, I knew that. On 30th June, I knew that my turnover exceeded the limit, I have to take registration. But till I receive this certificate, I cannot call myself as a registered person. Because without document, you cannot say anything. So till 15th July, I was not calling myself as the registered person. But on 15th July, I can proudly say that I am a registered person. If I proudly say, if I am capable of proudly saying that I am a registered person, then I have to proudly follow the rules of a registered person also. So from 15th onwards, from 15th July 20 onwards, I cannot issue any revised invoice. I have to, there is no choice now, I have to issue the tax invoice. I have to issue the tax invoice from 15th. Which invoice? As per section 31(1) or 31(2). I have to issue the tax invoice and I have to follow the particulars of Rule 46. If you remember the particulars, Rule 46 tells you that in your tax invoice, these values or items must be there. So there is no choice. From 15th, invoice, tax invoice has to be issued. If you are supplying goods, then under section 31(1), if you are supplying services under section 31(2), particulars which are mentioned in Rule 46. Is it clear till this point? Kindly reply. You can unmute and reply that yes, we have understood. Yes, point till this. Okay. But what about this period? Starting from 30th till 14th. Till 14th. What about this period? 30th June till 14th. What about this period? During this period, I know that I will be treated as registered later on when I get this certificate. But during this period till 14 June, there were no legal obligations on me to follow the same particulars. Am I right or not? मैं जब तक गवर्नमेंट मुझे सर्टिफिकेट नहीं देती मैं कैसे उस पर रूल मानूं रजिस्टर्ड वाले। तो उस दिन तक हो सकता है मैंने जो इनवॉइस टैक्स इनवॉइस इशू की होंगी वो फॉर्मेट में थी या नहीं थी या पता नहीं क्या था, कुछ भी हो सकता है वो, क्योंकि मैं रजिस्टर्ड था ही नहीं तब तक। So the invoice might not be in proper format, and that is why government says that the moment you get this certificate, so for this period, this is what my section 31 3A is. Government says for this period, which period? Which period is this? Starting from the date when you become liable starting from the date of becoming liable from the date of becoming liable for registration till the date you received this certificate. Till the date you received the registration certificate. For this period, from the date of becoming liable for registration till the date you received. Now, in my example, that period is this. If I want, it is not compulsory on me. गवर्नमेंट कहते हैं मर्जी है तुम्हारी, अगर चाहते हो तो रिवाइज्ड टैक्स इनवॉइस इशू कर सकते हो. You can issue. You may issue if you want revised tax invoices. You may issue if you want for this period revised tax invoice. Point clear or not? और मैं क्यों इशू करूंगा एज ए सप्लायर? अगर मुझे आईटीसी लेना है तो, because to claim ITC I must follow the proper format of tax invoice as per rule 46. अगर मैंने इनकम्प्लीट इनवॉइसेस इशू की हैं जो क्लियर नहीं है, ठीक है, गवर्नमेंट की कोई बात नहीं, अगर आईटीसी चाहिए तो दोबारा इशू कर लो रिवाइज टैक्स इनवॉइसेस. और ये अनलिमिटेड टाइम नहीं है, गवर्नमेंट से यू हैव 1 month ओनली टू डू दिस टास्क. सो इशू इट विद इन, सो व्हेन यू कैन इशू विद इन 1 month from the date of within 1 month from the date of receiving this certificate. मैं जब आपका सर्टिफिकेट आ गया, रिसीविंग रजिस्ट्रेशन सर्टिफिकेट, गवर्नमेंट कहती है विद इन 1 month अगर आप चाहते हो तो रिवाइज इशू कर सकते हो, मर्जी आपकी है. वी आर नॉट पुटिंग यू अंडर एनी ऑब्लिगेशन. इज दिस पॉइंट क्लियर और नॉट? इफ यस, काइंडली रिप्लाई.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me discuss an example with you. So what is this example? For example, I commenced the business. For example, I commenced the business 15th May 20. My aggregate turnover exceeded the limits applicable for registration. Limits for registration on which date? 2nd August 20. That means by default, if my turnover exceeds the limit, this is the date when I am liable for registration. I applied for registration on 22nd August 20. I received the registration certificate on 4th September 20. Can you tell me now on this basis what is that period for which I can issue revised tax invoices? If I want, can you tell me for which period I can issue revised tax invoices? If I want, can you tell me? Can you tell me that by which is that period for which I can issue revised tax invoice if I want? Any answer from your side? Of course, I will tell you, but you please try to make an attempt. The answer is the date when my turnover exceeded the limit, 2nd August 20, till 3rd September 20, because on 4th I got this certificate. For this period, I can issue the revised tax invoices of this period. Further, can you tell me what is the last date by which I can do so? If I want to issue, then I can do so till which date? Till 30 days from, and please wait. ओरिजिनल है नहीं तो
हाँ ये ओरिजिनल
ओरिजिनल नहीं है Okay, is my voice coming? Is my voice coming?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now come back. That was some official work, so I have to do that work. Anyhow, now what I was discussing is that for this period, revised tax invoices can be issued, but the time limit to issue is what? Till 1 month from the date of receiving certificate. That means starting from fourth, I will start counting from 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The chain goes on. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 4. Till 4th October. I can do so maximum till 4th October. If I don't issue the revised tax invoices till 4th October 20, then I cannot exercise this option. It will lapse by default. Please raise your hand if you have understood the example of revised tax invoice. That for which period revised tax invoices can be issued, till what date it can be issued, and why it should be issued. Because it is in proper format. It will help you in getting input tax credit if you want. Please raise your hand if you have understood this concept. Now, next point. Now the point is, what are the particulars of revised tax invoice? That I have not yet discussed. What are the particulars of tax invoice? So what are the particulars of tax invoice? Now, when I will discuss the particulars, the base will be tax invoice particulars. Whenever I will discuss the particulars of any document, when I discuss the particulars of any document, now this document for the time being is revised tax invoice. The base will be tax invoice. So let me show you tax invoice. This is the particular of, these are the particulars of tax invoice. I hope it is visible. Same thing is required to be mentioned in revised tax invoice. Name, address, place, quantity, value, signature, GST rate, everything is same. Okay, so if you learn these 10 particulars, almost these will apply to other particulars also with minor changes. So I will tell you only the minor change now. Okay, so this is same except new addition. So what new things which you should mention? So it is same, tax invoice particulars are same. The new points are what? First point, these words must be mentioned. The words inverted comma revised tax invoice must be indicated prominently. मतलब बिल पे दिखना चाहिए ये कि हाँ भाई ऐसा कुछ लिखा हुआ है. सेकेंड पॉइंट, क्योंकि रिवाइज्ड है तो ओरिजिनल और serial number and the date of serial number and date of the corresponding tax invoice or bill of supply. Because you are issuing the revised, it is like income tax return. When you file revised income tax return, you have to mention the acknowledgement number of the original income tax return. Same is the case here. Since you are issuing the revised tax invoice, then give the number of the original tax invoice against which you are issuing the revised. Original tax invoice and or so this bill of supply I am going to discuss. Sometimes I don't issue the tax invoice, I have to issue bill of supply. So if I want to issue the revised tax invoice, I have to mention the number of the original bill of supply. So I'm using both the documents as the case may be. It depends as the case may be. In case original was tax invoice, mention that original number. In case original was bill of supply, mention the original bill of supply number. These two things are new, otherwise everything remains same as that of tax invoice. That's it. Please raise your hand. My revised tax invoice concept is over from my side. Next point now. So I'm discussing 31 subsection 3 first point. Now let me tell you now second point. Second is section 31 subsection 3 clause B. Again, now with every clause of 31.3 you must see that why this section is supreme than 1 and 2, because subsection 1 and 2 of section 31 says compulsory issue of tax invoice, but all the provisions of section 31 subsection 3 will say that no need to issue compulsory tax invoice. Like my clause A was that issue revised tax invoice, it can be issued. Similarly, clause B says no tax invoice, no need, no tax invoice in case of value of supply less than rupees 200. So many times you must have observed that when you go and purchase these small quantities of 10 rupees, 20 rupees, and if you don't desire the tax invoice, supplier if registered, I'm not talking about unregistered supplier, unregistered supplier के लिए तो GST है ही नहीं एक तरह से, it's basically only for those who are registered. जो unregistered है उनको एक्ट करने की जरूरत क्या है? Suppose you are going to any stationery shop which is registered, it's my assumption, which is registered, and you purchase a pencil of 5 rupees, and if you don't need tax invoice, then it is then the supplier will not be treated as default for not issuing the tax invoice because of this provision of 31(3)(b). It says that, but some conditions are to be satisfied. It says that first, supplier must be registered. Recipient is unregistered. The value of supply is less than rupees 200, and the recipient is not asking it. मतलब customer को खुद ही नहीं चाहिए. Recipient is not asking for tax invoice. Then in this case, if such circumstances exist, then it is not necessary to issue tax invoice. In case supplier himself or herself wants to issue tax invoice, there is no problem. But even if tax invoice is not issued, supplier will not be treated as faulty person. However, but it doesn't mean that this transaction will go unrecorded. But in this case, supplier has to issue a consolidated tax invoice. Consolidated tax invoice at the end of each day. और आपको जब दुकान बंद करके जाएगा तो जितना भी इस तरह का काम है, इस तरह की इनवॉइस है, उस सबका टोटल करके एक सिंगल टैक्स इनवॉइस रेज करके जाएगा. दैट्स इट. नाउ फॉर एग्जांपल 10 different people have purchased something of 10 rupees. So there is no need to issue the 10 tax invoices to 10 different people. A single consolidated tax invoice of 100 rupees can be issued in that case at the end of each day. This is what the point is. Please raise your hand if the concept is clear. This was my second point where tax invoice is not required. Now let me assume an example. Let us discuss an example on this point. Mr. A registered person, is engaged in stationery. Okay, his shop, stationery shop is registered. He had done 5 supplies to PQRST. P is a registered person. I will use the word R only for registered, and the value of supply is 180 rupees. Q unregistered, R unregistered, value of supply 230, 400 for R. S unregistered, T unregistered, the value of supply is 90 and 180. This recipient P is a composition dealer, composition levy scheme dealer. Okay, and all these 5, they are not asking for invoice. They are not asking for tax invoice. Personally, they are not asking for tax invoice. Now, my question to you is, can you tell me that Mr. A, being a supplier, has to issue the tax invoice, in which case compulsory issue? Can you tell me in which case it's compulsory for the supplier Mr. A to issue the tax invoice? Any answer? PQRST, 5 recipients are there. 5 लोगों ने सामान खरीदा है दुकान से, तो किनको कंपल्सरी है देना उसको? Any answer from your side? ट्राई कीजिए इसको बताने का. Same provision you have to apply, which I am just discussing. In which case it is compulsory for Mr. A to issue the tax invoice? PQRST. Any answer from your side? Prachi, can you try? Manse, can you try?
Sir, maybe R, Q, and P.
PQRST. In which cases it is compulsory?
Q, R, and P.
Q, R, and P. Yes, 100% correct answer. Issue the tax invoice to whom? P, Q, and R. Yes, because P is a registered person. Whether P is covered under composition dealer or not, that is none of the business of Mr. A. Mr. A has nothing to do whether the recipient is a composition dealer or not. It is not the job of Mr. A to check. A has to issue because P was registered. So the value of supply, even if ₹1 invoice has to be issued if the recipient is registered. Now Q and R both are unregistered, but the value of supply exceeds 200. Or you can say 200 or more than 200. So yes, and no need to issue tax invoice. No need to issue. In which cases? S and T, because these are unregistered and the value of supply is less than 200. That's it. Now this is how numericals also can be made. That is why it is necessary that we learn the theory carefully, because theory is based on numericals. Please raise your hand if the concept is clear. Next point. Okay, next point now. So now I'm discussing my third point of 31.3. This is the third point of 31.3. Bill of supply. All these 31 subsection 3 provisions are beyond the provisions of 31.1 and 2. 1 and 2 is inferior than subsection 3. Okay, so I hope that now you are familiar with the language of the acts. Bill of supply in the following two cases. If the supplier is making exempt supply, or if the supplier is covered under composition levy scheme. Because when the supplier is making exempt supply, that means there is no need to pay any tax. So tax invoice cannot be issued. Why? Because if you remember the format of tax invoice, in this format tax rate and amount of tax also is must. पर जब आप सप्लाई ही एग्जम्प्ट कर रहे हो तो टैक्स रेट होगी नहीं, कोई अमाउंट होगा ही नहीं, so you cannot issue the tax invoice. You have to issue bill of supply. Similarly, if you are a composition levy scheme supplier, you cannot collect any tax from the recipients. आप collect कर ही नहीं सकते हैं, तो वहाँ भी ना तो रेट होगा ना अमाउंट होगा. So in these two situations, you have to issue. It's compulsory to issue bill of supply and not tax invoice. And that concept is also same, no bill of supply if the value of supply is less than 200. So that is same, no bill of supply if value of supply is less than 200 rupees. And similarly, what are the particulars of bill of supply? What are the particulars of bill of supply? I will keep the base as what? Tax invoice. So you must remember the particulars of tax invoice. So what are the particulars of bill of supply? Everything is same. The only thing will be what? That in this case, in tax invoice, rate of GST is also to be mentioned, but in bill of supply, you cannot mention that. Similarly, amount of tax also to be mentioned, in bill of supply, you cannot mention that. Otherwise, everything is same. Please raise your hand if bill of supply is also clear. Otherwise, ask me the doubt. Okay. Fourth point now. Receipt voucher. So now you can see that we are doing so many things which are much more important than even tax invoice. So you don't have only tax invoice. Every document has its own values. Now this fourth is nothing but section 31 subsection 3 ABCD. It is a receipt voucher. It simply says, now so many times when we go and purchase something or when we order something, then the supplier says that give some refund, give some advance. Otherwise, they will not accept your order because maybe tomorrow you will not come. And when any item is purchased or is purchased by anyone on orders, that is having specific customership, you can say. So when you give orders to anyone for purchasing something, they will ask for payment. So that is why section 31(3)(d) says that issue receipt voucher. Supplier has to issue receipt voucher or any document or any other document which acts, the purpose is to which acts as an evidence. but जब मैं किसी को एडवांस दूंगा तो मुझे कुछ प्रूफ भी तो चाहिए, as an evidence of receiving the money. That's it. This is what receipt voucher. Again, then what are the particulars? What are the particulars of receipt voucher? Again, I'm telling you that I'm keeping the particulars of tax as base. So do you know one point will be newly added? What this new point will be? Amount received or amount of advance taken. This is new point. That's it. Everything is same now. But one point you should note down. When you are giving the advance, it is exactly not known that what items will be sold. For example, today I am giving the advance for purchasing some chairs, and maybe after some time I will purchase a table. Maybe. So the rates might vary. Rates might vary. So in case, note, at the time of giving advance, for example, at the time of giving advance, if rate of tax is not ascertainable, if rate of tax is not ascertainable, by rate pata hi nahi lag pa rahi hai, in case it is ascertainable, there is no problem. Then 18% rate has to be taken, has to be, there is no choice, it has to be. And similarly, if nature of supply is not ascertainable, in case it is not possible to check whether it will be inter or intra, if nature of supply is not ascertainable, then it has to be taken as interstate supply. Interstate. Now, point clear or not? If yes, please raise your hand so that we can proceed. This is what receipt voucher. Next point. Refund voucher. That is the next point. जरूरी तो नहीं है कि मैंने अगर आज पेमेंट दे दी तो मैं सामान खरीदूंगा भी, हो सकता नहीं खरीद पाऊँ, और सप्लायर विलिंग है कि ठीक है वापस कर लो. So fifth point, section 31 subsection 3 clause E, it is refund voucher. What is refund voucher? When you have made advance payment and you have with you receipt voucher, so these are the conditions. Supplier has given receipt voucher. Second, against this advance, no supply is made subsequently. कोई payment, कोई supply नहीं हो पाई. No supply is made subsequently. Then, if you want refund, then supplier has to issue refund voucher. That's it. Point clear or not? Now, what are the particulars? Again, it's simple. I'm keeping the base as tax invoice. I'm keeping the base as tax invoice. So it's logical. Can you tell me what new point will be there? Amount given. That's it. Amount of refund made. And second point is, can you tell me logically what new point? This refund is made against some receipt voucher. So you have to mention also the number and date of receipt voucher, क्योंकि उसी की तो advance payment आपको वापस हो रही है. So that these become tallied. Date of receipt voucher issue. That's it. These are new points. Point clear? If yes, raise your hand so that we can proceed to the next document, payment voucher. Okay, next point, payment voucher. It is section 31(3), A, B, C, D, E, G. It is clause G, not F, G. It says that all those recipients who are covered under reverse charge basis. Now, if you remember, who are covered under reverse charge? When the supplier is unregistered This is one of the conditions. And the recipient is a registered recipient. I hope you remember the reverse charge. So the supplier is supplying goods and services and recipient is making the payment. So who is making the payment? Of course, recipient. ऐसे केस में ना recipients have more obligation. First they have to pay tax also to the government and then they have to issue payment voucher also to the supplier. So payment voucher has to be issued to the supplier. By whom? By the recipient. Sorry, yeah, by the recipient of goods and services. This is what payment voucher is. Now again, what are the particulars of payment voucher? I am keeping the tax invoice same. In this amount paid will also be mentioned. Everything is same. The new point is in this document, amount paid by the recipient is also to be mentioned. This is what payment voucher is. I hope the concept is clear. And the last point, point number 7, is simply saying that tax invoice. Section 31, subsection 3, clause A, B, C, D, E, F. Now, if you remember 31, 1 and 2, they were saying that who has to issue tax invoice? Supplier. 31, 2, who has to issue tax invoice? Supplier. Supplier of what? Goods. Supplier of what? Services. But 31, 3F says that who has to issue the tax invoice? Recipient. Who is this recipient? Who is covered under reverse charge mechanism? When that person is receiving goods or services or both. Now why they have mentioned it in 31.3 is not because that the document is different. Document under 31.3F is still tax invoice, but the issuing person is different. In 31.1 and 2, the issuing person was supplier. Now the issuing person is recipient. That's it. With this, I wind up 31.3 and then very small sections 31.4, 5. 31.4 and 31.5 are left. So in the next class, I will wind up not only remaining sections 31, but 32, 33 and 34 also. Entire topic of tax invoice, credit and debit notes will be over in the next lecture. That's all from my side. Goodbye.